5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're now tuning in to True Way Gaming Podcast, hosted by OneWaySoldier. We answer your gaming-related questions and talk about gaming-related topics. Now available on major platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and others, helping you game with a better understanding.
Hey, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of True Way Gaming. I'm your host, OneWaySoldier, or you call me Carl, and here on True Way Gaming, we answer your gaming-related questions and talk about your gaming-related topics. And on this episode, we have a question from a viewer, which, you know, guys, I know I've been a while since I've been here on the show. Hey, man, thank you so much for tuning in today. And just even to come back to a question, it's amazing. And this question is from a listener, Princess Kyrie, and she asked this. I'm just going to hop right into it. She said this: Hey, OneWaySoldier, I finally got my hands on the Xbox Series X. One day, I went to, I called a GameStop, a local GameStop in my area, and then they said, that they have 10 Xbox Series X's in stock without bundles, just a console. So I ran over there, and I managed to pick one up at retail price, brought it home, so excited. Thought I would never get one in a while. But I want to get the best out of my console. I still have a 1080p TV. I hear that HDMI 2.1 TV, capable TVs I would need to bring the best out of my console. So I wanted to ask you, what are some TVs and monitors that you recommend? My room is a small size room, so I don't want to get anything too big. I'm looking for a TV that is that has HDMI 2.1 capabilities, but is around the size of 27 inches. What do you recommend? All right. Well, that's an awesome question, Kyrie. So one thing off the bat, honestly, if there's really no 4K TVs that will make that small. I'm just trying to think of a few actually, because I think, well, at least 2.1 capable. At that point, I will highly recommend that you would just invest in a monitor, a gaming monitor. And because I do have it actually, it's by, I think, a company called Ziki, a 42-inch 4K TV, but that's it. Only has 4K resolution. It doesn't have HDR. It doesn't have, it's pretty bare bones. But pretty much anything smaller than that, like 27 inches, you're really looking at a computer monitor. And yeah, especially with HDMI 2.1 capabilities, I don't really think there's anything like that in the market. So what I did here was that I have a list here about 4 4K TVs that I would recommend at a budget. You also asked if it was on a budget level. Nothing too expensive, because you spend a lot of money, right, on the Series X. You're looking for something that you could experience everything that your Series X has to offer, but also a TV on a budget level. And so that's what I wrote here. I have a list of 4 TVs, and I also listed 2 computer monitors. And also, even though we're coming out of a pandemic, there are still shortages on certain things. And also prices that back a few months ago, computer monitors that were like 300, you could get like 4K, right? 144 hertz monitors for like 300. Now the price is pretty much just doubled, based on what I see on the market. And I'll get to that in a few moments here. So that's why I also like, man, for this price, I would recommend also just getting a TV. But yeah, so yeah, with that being said, with the exception of one, and I'll get to that obviously later in this episode, there are a few options here that will make you experience the fullness of your console at a budget level. So I'm just going to start with the TVs, and then I will say the last 2 monitors. So the first TV that I wanted to mention to you is TCL 55-inch Class 6 Series 4K Mini LED. It's the 55R646 model. And it's also a QLED TV, and this TV has pretty much it has 4K, it has HDMI 2.1. I'm not sure how many ports on this TV has HDMI 2.1. If I'm not mistaken, maybe 1 or 2. And yeah, you get to experience 120 frames per second, 4K. Now keep in mind, I probably should mention this detail later, but There's not a lot of games that really take advantage of 4K 120 frames per second. Usually, like on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, you will have games that you could experience 120 frames, but at 1080p. I think there's a handful of games. One of them I do believe is oh my goodness, is the game called no, not the Island. Excuse me. It's like a Minecraft looking style game. Thank you, Lord. Oh, The Tourist. That's what it's called, The Tourist. I believe that you could experience at high resolution and high frame rates at the same time. And there's also, I think, other games as well. But the majority of games, I'm talking about maybe as of right now, to my knowledge, 90% of like games on Xbox Series X, you could either experience 4K 60 and or 1080p 120 frames per second. And, or unless, of course, if you're gaming on a PC rig, then you get to experience, 4K at 120 frames per second. Of course, if your GPU can handle that, or if your rig can handle that. But with this TV, it's really cool that the price point at this TV for 55 inches, right now is $650. And I think that's an outstanding price point because what you're getting out of it, HDMI, especially HDMI 2.1 features, 650, really good deal. And with mini LEDs, not to go super technical here because this is also a QLED TV, but with mini LEDs is a massive improvement compared to local dimming TVs, right? Local dimming TVs, just to give a plain explanation of it, is that you will see the four corners of your screen sort of light up. So when dark scenes happen, you see four corners of your TV sort of like, a light shining in each corner. That's because, the backlit is at the corners of the TV. As to where mini LEDs, there's literally mini LEDs all across the board of the TV, and that really brings out a level of brightness and clarity to the picture, and it really makes colors pop. And also helps with better blacks. Not as to where if you had an OLED where each individual pixel could turn off, and therefore you get that ink black look. And it also because of that, also makes colors really pop as well. But mini LEDs actually is a new technology in TVs, and it really just makes the colors pop, especially the 4K aspect. And this TV is highly recommended. Has good picture quality. It's a perfect mid-budget TV that you could really experience the best of your Xbox Series X. Now, on to the next TV that I wanted to recommend is from Hisense, the ULED Premium 55U7G QLED series. Now, just in case you're wondering, okay, what the heck is ULED? So, the Hisense ULED branding, it refers to ultra wide color gamut, ultra local dimming. It's pretty much their version of like QLED. But they have some techniques or technologies in the TV that's a little bit above that, but it's basically the same as a QLED. So that's like Hisense's branding, ULED. That's what it stands for. And also with ULEDs, you get, like I mentioned, brighter, more detailed, and uses local dimming as well. So it doesn't have like mini LEDs in the back. It uses local dimming, but I guess with how they utilize it, right? It's different. Oh, and not to sound like all over the place as well, but going back to the mini LEDs, it has like 240 localized zones, which help, again, depending what's happening on screens. And there's like darkness in the picture, certain zones would turn off, not each and individual pixel like an OLED would, but zones will turn off, and therefore it will help to get a more natural black, and again makes details pop in the picture. I forgot to mention that detail. But going back to the Hisense ULED, it's right now, I believe, as the recording of this podcast episode, it's currently on sale for $598. And again, it has 4K, 120 frames per second, capable. So you definitely want to use the HDMI cable if you decide to pick this TV up that came with the Xbox Series X, because it's an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, which is really important. The ultra high-speed HDMI cable has a data read of 48 GPS, as to where a high-speed HDMI cable with Ethernet only is capable of 18 GPS. So that's definitely important, because if you want to experience 4K 120 frames, you would definitely need an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, which is included with your purchase of the Xbox Series X. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. And so far reviews on this TV, it's again, it's a good mid-budget TV, and and it's good at what it does. Colors are great. I heard picture quality is okay, but again, for a TV that's like $600, that's mid-range, and but it's a great TV. Highly recommend it, and you get to experience all the features that your Series X has to offer. To be honest, actually, let me take a step back from that a little bit. I'm not too sure. I do believe this TV does have FreeSync. I'm not too sure if it has auto latency modes. I'm not sure also if it has IG, HDR tuner, which in simple terms, HGIG, that allows you to view HDR as the creators of the game has originally intended it to be, which is a sweet feature, really awesome. So I'll recommend this one as well. All right, and the next TV that I wanted to recommend on the list. And I know that I said two TVs right there at 55 inches. So, again, I don't know what size your TV is, or your room, is. I guess the reason why I'm pointing these out, these particular models, I believe there is not a smaller model. I was looking, I think 55 is the entry point for these TVs. There is one on the list I'm going to get to that they do offer 42, no, was it not 42? I think 48 inches. And I'm gonna get to that in a second. It's 49 inches. And, again, just to find a TV that's lower than that, I don't really think it's available yet on the market. And if you want a computer monitor that is that size and offers HDMI 2.1, we're talking about, I believe, minimum $1,000 for a monitor that size. But again, I'm gonna clarify some of that as we continue to get into this. But the third TV on the list that I do want to recommend, praise the Lord, is a Samsung 55-inch QLED Q7 0T series, the 2020 model, which I believe has Google. I think the operating system is Google. And this one, it's QLED, so it has like over a billion shades of colors. It has HDMI 2.1 capabilities, and it's a Samsung. Picture quality looks great. Now, to be honest, when I was doing research on this TV, I do believe I've seen this TV on Best Buy for $700. But when I was looking elsewhere, I'm not sure right now, they're just out of stock. Because I checked Amazon and I checked a couple other places, and right now, I think the only place I was able to see was Best Buy, and it was at $700 for this TV. And I'm definitely keeping my eyes on this one, because I was really curious, like, okay, out of every TV, what's going on? I thought this TV was discontinued or something. I was managed to find it on Best Buy, and it was like $700. But if you're interested, again, Samsung, they are a great brand, trustworthy brand. TCL as well. Hisense, to be honest, I never owned a Hisense TV. I just looked up reviews on it, to be honest, and they are a good brand, especially the TV I named here, because they're into the gaming space and making more TVs for gaming, which is awesome. And the Samsung, can't go wrong with that. Get to experience 4K, 120 frames per second. HDR, it has Dolby Vision HDR as well. So that's another one. Moving on. Now, out of all the TVs I named, this is one that I highly recommend. And I do recommend the LG 55-inch Nano Cell 85 UNA model. So now this was the TV that I was saying that they made a smaller model of 49 inches. And it's really cool. The 49 inches, the retail price for this is $650, which is sweet because what you're getting out of the LG NanoCell 85 UNA model, it has ALLM, which stands for Auto Low Latency Modes. It has FreeSync. It has HDIG, HDR profile that I mentioned. You could do as HDMI 2.1. I believe it has 2 HDMI ports that are HDMI 2.1, so you could experience a native 4K, 120 frames per second. You could also, it also does offer, low latency response time is great for gaming, and it's also a nanocell that's pretty much LG's branding for QLED. That's their name for QLED. So you have billion shades of colors. The 85 model now, because there's 2 models that offer pretty much the same thing except for one minor difference, or to me, it's not really minor, but I guess some people could care less, is that the LG NanoCell 85 model, there's also a 90 model. So the NanoCell 85 model is everything I told you, but it has local dimming. So you're going to see the 4 corners of the screen light up in dark scenes and, etc. So you're not going to get that native black feel. And then the 90 model, the NanoCell 90, that has full array local dimming. So full array local dimming, the best way that I could explain, if you were to look it up, I'm sure it'll be much more simple, but I guess to explain it in an auditory way, you could think of there are local dimming zones on the left side of the screen, right, top, bottom, and middle. And depending on what happens on screen, maybe the left and top dimming zones of the TV will turn off, as to where the bottom, middle, and right will stay on. And on the fly, in other words, these lighting zones would turn on and off, and therefore they will allow, when certain dark scenes happen, you would get more of a darker picture, and also a brighter picture, which is good. You're not always seeing constantly the 4 corners of screens lighting up, but on the fly with full array local dimming, it turns off certain pixels of the screen off, and therefore you get a deeper black, so to speak, and brighter colors as well. That's the best way I could explain it, but I'm sure if you were to Google it, maybe you get a better understanding. But also again, at 49 inches for $650, you are getting an outstanding TV. This TV also has Dolby Vision as well. And I'm telling you, when you calibrate this thing, the colors on this are gorgeous. I would dare say even close to an OLED, in my opinion. Obviously, OLED, nothing beats that as of right now, even though there's something new coming in the market. But if you want something close to an OLED, in terms of contrast maybe, and even colors, I do recommend this TV. The only thing is you're not going to get that ink black, like I mentioned, what an OLED offers. But yeah, this TV, the NanoCell 85 and 95, you really can't go wrong with either one. And especially if you want a TV to experience the best for your Xbox Series X, I do, on a budget level, highly recommend that TV. But if you have the room as well, why not go for the 55? The 55 inch, I do believe that for the 85, it might be $750, and then the 90 is $850. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. As to where the 49 inch model, that is $650. And I'm not sure right now if they're out of stock in places, because I checked Amazon actually right before I recorded this episode, and I don't see it anymore. But I see it there, but currently it's not available. But I'm pretty sure other places, they're still going to be selling that, and etc. And I actually own the Nano 90, and I'm highly happy with my purchase. It's an awesome TV. Highly recommend it. So out of everything that I said, or the TVs I named, I highly recommend the NanoCell. But if you can't get that, definitely I would recommend either the TCL 55 inch, everyone I named. But if I were to have to give a placement order, definitely the next in line would be the TCL, and the Samsung, and then the Hisense. All right, now for the final 2 gaming monitors. Now, again, like I mentioned, right? I know I said TVs that were $650, $500, and $98, $650, right? $850. Yeah. So I guess this is where I became like, because in my personal opinion, right? Like, for the same price that you get a TV with these specs, to me is worth the money. But to get a computer monitor, and I'm not saying nothing wrong with a computer monitor. Computer monitors are awesome. But to get a computer monitor with these specs, and they offer like 27 inches or, 24 inches, and they're nearly cost, like $600 or $650 or $700. Or if you were to get an HDMI 2.1 capable computer monitor, that's like $1,000. I was like, all right, I might as well just get a TV. But that would be me, though. That's my opinion. I'd rather just invest in a TV. But the two computer monitors that I have here, that to me, there are actually the price of a mid-tier TV. And you get to, well, let me just tell you. So the first computer monitor that I do recommend is an LG 27 GN950B Ultra Gear gaming monitor. Has an IPS panel, nanocell, has a 1 millisecond response time. It could do 144 hertz, has G-Sync, AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. Now, the thing with this monitor, is that it doesn't have HDMI 2.1, but as HDMI 2.0, so therefore you could do native 4K 60 frames per second, and 1440p at 120 frames per second. So you still get to experience, those features on your Xbox Series X, because again, like I mentioned, majority of games on the Xbox Series X, you could either choose native 4K 60 frames or 1080p 120 frames per second. So in other words, by getting this computer monitor, you're technically not missing out on features that your Xbox Series X could offer. But if you're looking for something to future-proof, I don't know when the next series, no pun intended, of consoles are coming out, that can maybe do native 4K 120 frames per second, even though, man, they really need to be beefed up to handle that. But I'm not sure when, those consoles are coming out, but and there's no telling when, right? But that's probably the only thing you won't do, native 4K 120 hertz per second. But 1440p resolution is pretty much 3K. It's half the resolution of 4K. 4K is 3280 by 2160p. As to where 3K, that's 1440p. So you're getting a sharper, crisper image than 1080p, but you're not getting a full native 4K resolution. Or you could just switch it to native 4K, but experience 60 frames per second. Still looks gorgeous, and and you get to still experience the features. It has HDR as well, and you still get to experience the capabilities of your console. Just again, not the 4K 120 frames. If that makes sense. And again, this retails for $596 right now. Now, the second and last monitor that I want to mention on this list is a Samsung 28-inch Odyssey G70A computer monitor. And I think the model is LS28 AG700 NNXZA. I'm just going to write this in the description. But yeah, that's the model number. Not sure if anybody can remember that. Thank you, Lord. But this computer monitor retails for $630. And it's a 28-inch. Now, this does actually feature HDMI 2.1, according to my research. Capability. So you could game at native 4K 120 hertz. As HDR 400 nits. So 400 nits is not so bright, but then again, this is a 28-inch, so that might be bright enough. But if you were to have a TV that's 55 inches and only does 400 nits, that is not a bright picture or a bright HDR implementation, I would say. But meaning that the screen is 28 inches and it has HDR, it's good. I'll say it's good. And yeah, and it has 120 Hz. I believe it has AMD FreeSync as well, and yeah, you still get to experience what your Xbox Series X has to offer, which is very good at a price point of $630. I think the only thing that this is missing, I do believe it doesn't have Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision. I meant to say, I believe it doesn't have the HDIG like I mentioned. But again, as a computer monitor, it does have great response time, and yeah, you still get to experience the features of your Xbox Series X. I should say the main features, which is 4K 120 frames per second, and HDR, which is very, very good. Because again, like I mentioned, there's some absences, and a 630. If you want a monitor that's has everything, like I mentioned, low auto latency, whatever, we're looking at a much higher price point. So yeah, and these are the two monitors, and these are the TVs that I recommend for you, Princess Curie, if you're deciding what to purchase or to experience. I hope this list helps. Again, in the description, I will write out the names of each TV model so you can look it up yourself if you're interested in any of these. And yeah, again, the two monitors that I mentioned, one is 27 inches, the LG, and the Samsung is 28 inches. But yeah, if you could, again, I don't know what size room you have, but if you have the room, I would recommend definitely a bigger TV, in my opinion, and hopefully you get to pick one of these TVs up. Yep. All right, and yeah, and that's all I really have to say on the matter. I hope this list helps. And listeners, I hope, if you guys are looking for a TV on a budget, a good gaming budget, I guess mid-budget TV, these are the TVs that I recommend. I might do a part 2 of this episode in the near future. I definitely love looking up stuff like this. And what else? Time to be alive, right? All right, and listeners, if you have any questions and or topics that you want me to address here on the show, you could definitely send me an email at twgpquestions at gmail.com. Make sure you leave your name and write a question at the subject bar. That way I could probably address you here on the show. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, True Gaming, at True Gaming. And then also YouTube, True Gaming Podcast, as well. And yeah, it's good to be back. I know I've been absent for a long time. There was a lot of stuff happening for the past couple of months with me. But I'm back, and I'm looking forward to continuing the show again. Thank you guys so very much for your love and support. And yeah, I'll be back with another episode next week. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy this episode, please. And also, wherever you're following, make sure you follow, subscribe, to your friends and family if they want to tune into a podcast episode where they have any gaming related topic or questions they want to ask or anything. It could be addressed here on the show. And again, thank you guys so very much for your support. I love you guys. Thank you so very much. Jesus loves you. My name is OneWaySoldier, and this is the end of my transmission. Pew.